Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Violence in schools under the microscope in Jamaica. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Friday, 15th April 2022. Details when we return.
Hubbard's Motor Department Mount Gay and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived on new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
Welcome back. Jamaica's Education Ministry tackling violence in Jamaica's schools. TVJ's Andrea Chisholm reports.
The stabbing death of Kamal Hall at William Knibb High due to a conflict over a guard ring is one violent incident that sent shockwaves throughout the country. To help combat the problem, the Education Ministry is rolling out a psychosocial program for grade 10 or 4th form students since data show the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted that cohort the most. The 15-year-olds are also at a critical stage of development and are in need of support. And so the psychosocial program will be held for 2 weeks in April under the theme Embracing a Winning Well-Being.
Schools have the flexibility to replicate and adapt this concept as the need arises. Limited academic classes will be held in those 2 weeks. We want to focus on providing psychosocial support to our 4th form students or grade 10 students, primarily to help them through this period.
Defective metal detectors will be replaced and 55 school resource officers who are police personnel sent to schools in Western Jamaica. School administrators are also reminded to search students for harmful weapons in keeping with the safety and security policy. They should look out for the following:
loud talking beyond what is normal, rough play, gathering of students on the outside of classes, especially during breaks and lunchtime. And we ask that they disperse these gatherings.
Meanwhile, the Education Ministry has spent over $1.8 billion to help bring students up to scratch with the curriculum. The Yard to Yard Find the Child initiative, which seeks to locate children who have been absent from school, is reaping results.
We have been able to re-engage approximately 87,446 of the 120,000 students we had indicated were not accounted for during the pandemic. Madam Speaker, we commit to finding all our students. Our deans of discipline and our guidance officers will specifically redouble their efforts.
And grooming in schools continues to be a hot-button topic, with the students being sent home if they do not follow the rules. For example, if pants are too tight or skirts not at the specified length.
Principals are being reminded, and we have been doing this from time to time, that the schools department policy should be guided by the ministry's grooming policy guidelines. And where possible, special consideration should be afforded to students and their families as they attempt to rebound from the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and as they try to comply with the department policy of the institution.
The ministry is awaiting feedback on a draft policy for dress and grooming. Minister Williams is hoping it will be available at the start of the next school year. Andrea Chisholm, TVJ News.
Bahamian Prime Minister Philip Davis speaks on how the relaxation of COVID-19 protocols in the Family Islands brings economic benefits. Charles Fisher of the ZNS Network News has more.
It was a festive mood as Cal Islanders and visitors enjoyed themselves over the 4 days of the tournament. And as the first major event since the Prime Minister made the announcement for festivities to resume, to have it happen in his home island was quite significant.
We are the leaders in this thing. I'm so happy to see the smiles on people's faces, being relieved from all the challenges we're having. This Fish Off, an event that we have been having. We lost 2 years of it because of the pandemic. It's now back, it's booming, and I'm so happy and excited to see how it's been truly embraced, particularly by the residents of Cat Island and those Cat Islander descendants who came back home just to be a part of this event.
The Prime Minister pleased with the way Bahamians have adapted and making sure everyone stays safe.
And what I'm recognizing is that Bahamians have taken responsibility for themselves. They are being responsible and protecting themselves and protecting others. And that is what this is all about. I think at the end of the day, as a people, we understand and appreciate how to protect ourselves, how to protect others. Measures are only in place to ensure that the tools to fight against this virus is in place. And that's I think, the obligation of government to ensure that they're in place.
And he's happy to know that since making the announcement on March 5th that the Cat Island Rake and Scrape and Regatta is back on course, there has been a trickle-down effect for all the islands to get on board.
Yeah, there's that what they call a cabin fever that's rippling through Nassau as well. People just want to go somewhere. And not necessarily to the United States now. They're recognizing that a lot of people are coming to the Bahamas and enjoying it more than we are. And the Bahamas is a place that we could enjoy. We have so many unique and differentiating experiences we could have on each island. And we need to understand that let's build up our own domestic tourism. And this is one way of doing it, by having events such as this.
Up next, later on this month, is the National Family Island Regatta in Georgetown, Exuma. For the ZNS Network News, I'm Charles Fisher.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
Hours after taking his oath as a member of the Guyana House of Assembly, Aubrey Norton was elected by the opposition to be their new opposition leader in the House. Gordon Mosley of News Source Guyana reports.
The election took place during a break in today's sitting at the National Assembly, as the opposition met to elect Norton to the post. Just after his election to the position, Mr. Norton told reporters that he will push for the opposition to scrutinize the government more and to also connect the citizens across the country more.
There are a number of priorities. The first priority has to be to ensure we hold the government accountable, to ensure we scrutinize what government is doing, and to ensure that we go out into the villages, the communities, understand the concerns of people, and to represent them. We are elected to represent the people, scrutinize the government, push for transparency, ensure accountability. We are going to do just that.
On the issue of meeting with the president, Mr. Norton said he cannot say if he will be pushing for any meeting with the president, but he knows that in keeping with the Constitution, the president and the leader of the opposition will have to meet and consult on various issues.
I can't say whether I'll push for a meeting soon with the president. What I can say to you is, in keeping with the Constitution, I will honor all the responsibilities of the leader of the opposition.
Norton said there will be some changes on the opposition side in terms of the parliamentary responsibilities for members who act in the role of shadow ministers. The new opposition leader also announced that he intends to engage the Speaker of the National Assembly on some of the concerns of opposition members in the National Assembly, especially in relation to bills and motions that will be put forward by the opposition.
The first thing really is to engage the Speaker in some amount to dialogue. And if dialogue doesn't work, then one has to resort to the political action because, first of all, in a parliamentary democracy, it is assumed that the Speaker will be independent and unbiased. And if the Speaker fails to live to that standard, then he has to be held accountable. And if the parliamentary option is closed, then clearly you're left with only extra parliamentary action to take.
Mr. Norton has taken over the position of Leader of the Opposition after the position was left vacant following the resignation of Joe Harmon from the post. Harman later resigned as a member of parliament altogether. He suffered a crashing defeat to Mr. Norton at the PNC Reform's internal leadership elections last December and never fully recovered politically from that defeat. Norton has promised to make the office of the Leader of the Opposition more robust and responsive to the needs of citizens.
Counties Victoria and Caroni currently account for almost 70% of the active cases of COVID-19 in Trinidad and Tobago. More in this TTT News item.
Counties Victoria and Caroni currently account for almost 70% of the active cases of COVID-19 in the country. This according to Health Minister Terence Dayal-Singh, who says it is a concern. Sunalala reports.
That is a worrying statistic.
Health Minister Terence Dayal-Singh says County Caroni and Victoria has generally reported an abnormally high number of COVID-19 cases, but notes that both counties now account for the majority of active cases.
Victoria is now accounting for over 3,000 or 50% of the 6,001 active cases, with County Caroni followed by 16%. So those two counties, Victoria and Caroni, are accounting for close to 66 to 70% of the active cases.
Chief Medical Officer Dr. Roshan Parashram said it is difficult to say why the numbers continue to be high in these counties.
They are highly dense population. When you deal with diseases such as this, you find the spread is related to the way people move and the way the housing is spread amongst the county, amongst other things. So it is really multifactorial, and it's difficult to say what attributes the higher numbers at this point in time.
With COVID-19 still circulating, Mr. Dayal-Singh is urging citizens to be extra vigilant during the Easter holidays, noting that only 50% of the population is vaccinated.
If you're in a crowd of 100 people, based on the 1 and 2 ratio, 50 of those people are unvaccinated and pose a threat to you. And then you could take this virus home.
Mr. Dayal-Singh is hoping the Easter period does not lead to an overwhelming of the parallel healthcare system, noting the uptick in cases that was experienced in 2021.
We don't want the post-Easter period to be one where the hospitals start to report higher levels of occupancy.
He is urging people to be careful how they socialize during the Easter period, especially if they are in a setting where the wearing of masks is not being followed. Sonalala, TTT News.
In related news, one detected case of the Delta variant is causing some concern to the Ministry of Health. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Roshan Parasram says from genomic sequencing testing last week, the majority came back as the Omicron variant. But with one case of the Delta variant being detected in those samples, Dr. Parasram says it will be monitored closely by the Ministry of Health.
118 of those would have come back as Omicron. One case as Delta, which is, although it is one, it is concerning that we still have Delta circulating in the country. So that is a concern because of the severity of Delta in terms of it, in the way it causes severe disease and death.
Dr. Parasram adds that the worrying subvariant of Omicron also continues to show up in samples.
What we see in circulation is BA1 majority, but there's a significant amount of BA2, which is the sublineage that is causing a lot of issues in other parts of the world. We are now, based on last week's report, it accounted for 39% of the samples that were Omicron are BA2.
There are 374 new cases of COVID-19 in the country. This brings the total number of active cases in Trinidad and Tobago to 6,144. The Ministry of Health also reported 5 COVID-19 related deaths, 3 elderly men and 2 elderly women in the last 24 hours. The total number of deaths is now 3,792.
Conveniently located in the Grandstand Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Grandhands will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep,
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
I am Eddie Frederick, wishing you a restful weekend. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.